Hello and welcome to the Grindhouse. I'm JC with my host tonight. Pat O will not be with us, but will be joining us again next week. This is actually going to be a very casual and probably short episode, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure that we kept a cadence and kind of just made sure we're doing this because there's I don't know if you want to call it a saying or an old wives' tale or however you want to put it, but they say that usually if you don't make it to episode 7 of your podcast or stream, you're probably not very dedicated. So I think we're on episode 9, which is a good thing. So let's see if we can make it to a little further and kind of figure out what we're doing. But yeah, no, today is just simply a casual day. I'm just going to go have everyone and say hi, nothing super formal. And then we're just going to get into some conversations about our favorite game company ever, Wizards of the Coast. We're going to talk a little bit about Kickstarters, especially the new one from Cobalt Press. And then we're going to end it with a little bit about video games, Final Fantasy, and possibly me gushing about Borderlands 3, as I always tend to do when video games come up, and any other video games that anyone wants to gush about. So with that, let's start with Watsy and our brand new video, because I like doing these things instead of working. So here we go. It's for about news.
It's the Thursday Night News with your host, the Grindhouse crew.
It makes us look fancy and global. Like, ooh, they're going to talk about stuff worldly because there's a globe in it. But to be honest, that's like the only news-looking video clip I could find at the moment. So I'm not going to get too excited. So, Wizards of the Coast. I don't know, Mike. Do you want to kick us off on this fantastic journey into WotC and their fun stuff?
Sure. This for those of you that are watching that probably haven't been keeping up with your gaming news. This is a long story that goes back to the beginning of the year. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, James, but if I start to ramble, you go ahead and just cut me right off.
Mm-hmm.
So it started in the beginning of the year in January. Witches of the Coast released, there was a draft copy of their new version of Open Gaming License, referred to OGL 1.2, that was released. It was a draft copy. The summary of it was complicated with lots of legalese, but the summary was basically two things. Number one, WotC and Hasbro wanted more money. And number two, WotC and Hasbro wanted to take more control away from the publishers who are using their products. So as you might imagine, the backlash was quick and severe, both from the fan base and from the third-party publishers. WotC did some backpedaling, and they released a statement basically saying, we're sorry, but they didn't really tell you what they were sorry about. They just said they were sorry. And that the draft copy that was released was not the final copy, and some of the text and wording in there was not accurate. So then they went on. So during this whole process, gamers began to drop their subscriptions, and I think to the number of 70,000 people ended up dropping or canceling their subscriptions to D&D Beyond and other products. And so WotC had then released a follow-up statement that said, we're not going to make any changes at all to the Open Gaming License. It's going to stay as is. But unfortunately, at that point, the damage had been done. There was gaming companies that has broken all ties with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. And there were gamers who left in large droves to play another role-playing game, to stop playing Dungeons and Dragons. The point of that is that Paizo has Pathfinder, and they had 6 months worth of core rule books that they had printed in advance, and that 6 months supply was sold out within 6 weeks. That was the undertone of the gamers that had said this was wrong. and we are no longer playing D&D. So that is basically the gist of the back story. The current news is that Critical Role, which is, of course, for those who don't know, is a YouTube channel that has been hosting their own D&D game, has been incredibly successful. But Critical Role's Darrington Press has announced that they are going to release a new role-playing game that quite potentially could be a direct competitor to Dungeons and Dragons. More importantly, there is rumors that Critical Role will stop using Dungeons and Dragons product in favor of using this new role-playing game, effectively ending their business relationship with Dungeons and Dragons. Now, my last comment on that is Critical Role and Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast have had a very prosperous relationship, because during their 10 years of using doing their video, they've been using Dungeons and Dragons primarily, and they've done plugs for their products. They've done plugs for D&D Beyond, etc. Now that they're ending that relationship, and they have over 2 million subscribers who watch Critical Role, there is a strong indicator that people are going to leave or stop playing D&D and follow Critical Role to whatever gaming platform they decide to play on.
Yeah, and honestly, that's not even. I mean, that's like the beginning of the things that WotC just did to start pissing people off. So, and I think I don't know if we talked about it in the past couple of episodes, but so after the whole OGL debacle and just starting to make people angry, there was a couple other things that happened. One, um, Magic the Gathering, which is Wizards of the Coast's other large brand, accidentally sent out a box of Magic cards that weren't like they were 2 weeks early. Sent it out to a YouTuber. So instead of basically saying, "Hey, whoops, our mistake," we'll just have to let this slide. We'll take the flack for it. They actually hired the Pinkerton, a basically mercenary security team that I thought basically died out in like 1890, but apparently they're still around. They hired the Pinkertons to muscle the YouTuber, his wife, and the neighbors and threatened with like fines and jail time until they got the cards back. So,
and the fallout, to springboard off of that, James, the fallout does continue. So as you know, Paizo announced that they have a new open gaming license that will compete with Wizards of the Coast, called ORC, which is their version. It's, I believe, stands for Open Creative License, or Open. I think so. Open Role Playing Creative License. I'm not sure what the acronym means, but I know other publishers. What's that, Catherine?
Oh, I just laughed. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I know that Kobold Press, Troll Lord Games, and others have dropped or severed all connections with Dungeons and Dragons. Hasbro stock is down 33% year over year. So where they were a year ago compared to where they are now is down 33%. And the movie Dungeons and Dragons: Honors Among Thieves grossed 207 million, which many people would say, "Oh, that's not bad." Unfortunately, in Hollywood terms, that is still considered a loss, considering how much money they put into advertising and distribution. In order for it to actually be successful, they need to clear at least 300 million, which means the boycott or partial boycott of the movie was somewhat successful, and there doesn't appear to be any indicator that there will be a sequel. While they are considering some television spin-offs or television shows, right now it does not look like a sequel is in the wings waiting. So with all of that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and roll right into the next little tidbit, which is the newest release, which is Wizards of the Coast has announced that they are now hiking their prices up on supplements. So any new rule books or any new companions or any of the new books that are coming out are now going to be more expensive, something to the tune of 20%. The prices range. This is not for digital copies. This is for paper hardback books. And they said they basically gave a very canned response saying, paper costs, fuel costs, distribution costs, everything has cost more money, so they need to ratchet up the price in order to defray the costs. And of course, the entire community went ballistic. Most of the people think that this is just a money grab. There are some people that say, well, they haven't raised their prices since 2014, so this was inevitable. They were going to raise their prices. It's just, unfortunately, with everything that has happened in this year, it seems like Wizards of the Coast is absolutely tone deaf to the fan base by raising prices 20% and just giving a blanket, well, sorry, this is the way it is. I mean, I'm not a marketing expert, but you think they would have tried to do it in a somewhat more clever or possibly subtle way instead of just slapping their fan base with 20%.
I see the mistake you just made, Mike.
What's that?
Subtle, not exactly their style. What was the other word you used? What was the other one?
Subtle, or I don't know, discreet. That's another one.
I'm not saying any of those words really apply to anything that they're doing.
No.
As an author and somebody that supports a lot of Kickstarter RPGs, I'm willing to give them a pass on having to raise prices because the paper prices and printing prices have significantly gone up. The shipping from overseas significantly gone up. So maybe they handled it poorly, but they're not wrong about the prices increasing drastically on that front. The license, by the way, is the Open RPG Creative License.
Thank you.
Ah.
And that's what stands for. That's the orc. Yeah, right. So the one gripe I have, and again, I understand that everything has gotten more expensive. So I can at least empathize and say, all right, well, they're raising their prices to if they want to stay in business, they're going to have to do that. However, the problem I have, and the one thing that grinds my gears, is that you're getting the same amount of content. The supplement that's coming out, Glory of the Giants, supposed to come out in August, is actually less pages than some of the other previous companions or supplements that have come out. So you're just getting a higher price tag. It's the same amount of content. It's the same amount of pages. There's nothing more to it. It's just you're paying more money for it.
Well, paying more for less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also you're looking at other, like their last product, Spelljammer, with missing content. Yeah. It's like, let's create a space game with space combat, but not actually give you rules how to do combat. Or how.
That's a little bit of a big thing to miss out on.
I was really interested and excited to play the game, and I bought Spelljammer and the 5th edition version, and I sat down, and I was just fundamentally disappointed at how vague a lot of the rules were. It really looked like there was placeholders that were put there that, I guess writers were going to come in later and fill out the details. I don't know. It looked very incomplete to me, and I'm definitely speaking from a non-publishing point of view.
So before I go on to my crazy conspiracy theory pieces of this conversation, Catherine, do you have anything to add? I mean, do you buy WotC products at all?
No, the last WotC product I bought was probably Mordokin's Tome of Foes. I think was the last one I bought. And it's because I just loved like race manuals and stuff like that, and that was years ago.
Okay.
One thing I did notice on the Pathfinder side of things is that they've announced some stuff like really stepping away from the OGL. They've retconned Drow. They've announced that they're going to be changing schools of like wizard schools to more of like classes almost. Like you're a battle mage or you're a social manipulator, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So my message to Eric Mona of Paizo at this moment in time is you're not going to pick my pockets again for a whole new set of Pathfinder books. So kiss my butt.
Well, it is in fact only the core books. It's only the Player's Guide, the Advanced Player's Guide, the Game Mastery Guide, and the Monster stuff.
See,
None of the other books are having to be redone.
Wizards of the Coast did this to me in 2002 when after I bought my copies of D&D 3.5, oh sorry, 3 and 3.0 and bought all the supplements and everything with it. 6 months later they're like, those books are trash. Here's 3.5.
Well,
And you know,
let me go ahead and make sure to say what they said. If you don't feel like buying the new stuff, you don't have to, because even the new stuff is compatible with the 2E. It's not changing any of the basic rules. It's a lot of reformatting, a lot of tweaks to get the core rule set being away from the OGL stuff. And if they want to separate themselves, they have to make those changes.
Oh yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah.
It's a necessary evil.
well, yes and no. So here's where I'm going to push back. Is
Where's my tinfoil hat?
Well, this is a conspiracy theory stuff. This is like Wizards being weird for whatever reason.
Wizards or Paizo?
No, this is Wizards. So
Okay.
Wizards went ahead and they were apparently supposed to put some of D&D in Creative Commons. And then someone must have they hired
Lost their little mind
and just put almost everything into Creative. Like Strahd has been put into Creative Commons.
Just the name, not the stat block.
No, but that's the thing is that, or they put all their like monsters that were still supposed to stay with them, like Mind Flayer and all that. They put those all into Creative Commons. So I don't either. That was just someone making a mistake, or they just have completely don't care anymore. It's just.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, conspiracy theory stuff. So last year or the year before, Wizards of the Coast hired a whole brand new upper level executive team, most of them over from Microsoft. And the people from Microsoft are the ones who were in charge of online gaming, platform gaming, and video games.
They've done a great job, haven't they?
Well, but here's the thing: is that I think them raising their prices is a nothing burger to them. Because realistically, and again, here's conspiracy theory, is what Wizards of the Coast wants is to basically lose physical books altogether. They just want to be able to sell through D&D Beyond, sell everything digitally so they can control it. So if you decide to stop subscribing, guess what? You don't have a book. You have nothing and that they don't want people to go around the table anymore physically. They just want you to go online and play with their new virtual tabletop. Now,
well, yeah, because then you're spending money.
Oh yeah, and everything's going to be microtransactions. So it's like it'll come with like the base goofy looking orc mini or elf mini or whatever. But if you want the fancy elf mini who's a bard that has a lute and the golden hair and violet eyes, that's extra money. That's an upgrade. So Wizards of the Coast really, I think, wants a
and they can do like movie tie-ins and show tie-ins. And like, you want the bard from Honor Among Thieves or whatever the next product is. You have to pay, but you can have them.
Yeah. And I think that's where I'm thinking D&D is going. It is no longer going to be the sit around the table with your friends and play a role-playing game. It's going to be go online and spend tons of money on little things here and there in order to play the game. And I mean, that's the way it's already going. So raising the price of books, hell, if you can get them cheaper digitally or through a subscription, you're going to go that route, right? And things like Dungeon Masters Guild, another conspiracy theory, but here we go. So Dungeon Masters Guilds allows content creators to create D&D products for, that are not part of Wizards of the Coast. And to be honest with you, some of their Dragonlance third-party supplements are better than the damn Dragonlance book that they published themselves. Like, just way better. But, so here's the thing, though, is that Roll20 just made an announcement that they're partnering with Drive-Thru RPG now. basically both company, One Bookshelf and Roll20 are in bed with each other at this point, because they just made an announcement that they're going to be the one-stop shop in order to publish PDFs and books, do printing, do cards, do comics, and publish your Roll20 virtual tabletop material. You can get it all through this one place. But also, One Bookshelf also owns the Dungeon Masters Guild, which publishes all the D&D and old TSR stuff. Um, that's their thing. So my thought is, with this happening, Dungeon Masters Guild is probably going to go bye-bye. It's all going to go back to Roll20. Not Roll20, sorry, D&D Beyond. And contractors, that's going to be their way to screw the individual content creators, is before they could just go, oh, I'm just going to throw my stuff on Dungeon Masters Guild and be done with it. Now it's going to be, well, if you want to publish your fanfic of Forgotten Realms, hot whatever, I won't go further, but I won't go into Pat territory and start talking about Caligula or anything. Well, actually, anyway, yeah. But anyway, they're not going to be able to do their fanfic anymore and publish their modules. They're going to be heavily controlled by WotC and probably be forced to pay money to publish, like to give them that bit of money that they were trying to get in that initial OGL thing. So I kind of see this as Wizards of the Coast move to fully control D&D, to the point where, unless you actually buy their overpriced physical books, which probably people are not going to want to do, they could just go and pay their monthly subscription to have their virtual tabletop, their books, and everything online, which also means, too, that, good or bad, they can also alter the books without having to tell you. So, for example, one of the reasons I like, I'm looking at Mike's bookshelf behind him. Same thing. I got my second edition, my first edition, everything behind me. Wizards of the Coast can't change that content on me. They can't go, hey, we decided that this is offensive now, or this is problematic, so we're going to change all this on you. They can't come to my house and start taking my books, ripping out pages, and writing things in crayon in them.
You are absolutely wrong, JC, because they're going to send Pinkertons to your house with a red pen and a black marker, and they're going to take care of all of this.
So that, that's one of the reasons why I'm going to say that. And I changed my mind. So initially, if you would have talked to me 6 months ago or even a year ago, I would have just laughed at you and said, 5e. The only reason I play it is because my friends like playing it. But I've actually kind of come to peace with 5e, but just core 5e. Like, we're talking about Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and DMG, right? I'm fine with that. It's actually a really solid system. There's a couple things, sure, that could be fixed. And Mike, you've played, and actually I think Terry, you've played. Did you play Carbon 2165 with us?
No, I did not.
Okay, so there's D&D offshoots like the Cyberpunk version, Carbon 2165 or 20, whatever it's called. There's a D20 version of Stargate, 5e version of Stargate, which I know Terry has played with me. There's a Hellboy RPG that's based on 5e. There's a lot of 5e, and actually one that just came out called Everyday Heroes, where they did a Crow and a Highlander and Escape from New York and a Kong Island and all kinds of stuff, licensed product that's basically the new D20 Modern, except it's done in 5e, and again, done really well. So my problem is not so much with 5e, because it's a decent system. My problem, honestly, at this point is now with Wizards of the Coast. So I'm throwing down the gauntlet. I'm slapping you across the face with it, WotC. You're not my friend anymore. I'm taking my toys and going home. So that's
so. Let me go ahead and throw this at you, JC, to bring us back to Paizo, like we were talking before.
Okay.
They're going to be changing things on their character builder You understand that it's going to change to match up with what the new materials are. So you're suddenly going to be making your character, and you're like, wait a minute, what's this? This character can add this? What? Who's this? What's this? What's this other thing? You're going to be stuck, man.
So what you're saying is I will have to buy the new books.
No, I'm saying you can still play the old stuff, but I bet you the online character generator is going to change to incorporate the new stuff, and some of the players are going to be selecting. You're going to be going, what is this? Let me go to the what is it, the Articles of Nethys to look and see what
Archives
this all
of
is.
Nethys.
Archives of Nethys.
And they
you're gonna
will
have
be
to go
on
look
there.
for it. Really? They won't?
Yeah. No, they will. They will.
Okay, I was going to say, I know that they will be there. I was surprised when I thought you said they weren't. I was like, "Rrr."
No. My mic is just cutting out in the most opportune times.
But to tell you, let me tell you,
Okay.
I may be a little fanboying on this because I like
Yes, you
I'm
are.
an RPG hoarder. I'm sorry, I have to go to a 12-step program to save myself. But not only am I going to go ahead and get the new books when they come out, I'm going to go ahead and go to the gaming store, the brick and mortar gaming store, and buy the sketch cover versions.
Ooh.
Wow.
So there, take that.
That's dedication.
Yeah, that's. But I was just gonna say, so everything is so wrapped up in like character builders. So, for example, I'm actually going to be running a AD&D Second Edition campaign for some friends that I usually play in their game on Saturday. The game master wants to take a break, and he asked me if I would run a mini campaign. I said sure. And then when I mentioned what I'd be interested in running, I said, oh, maybe how about AD&D Second Edition? Everyone was like, yes, and especially when I threw in Greyhawk on top of that, it became a double yes. But to my point about Archives of Nethys and D&D Beyond, so I'm sitting with my wife yesterday, and she needs to generate her character. So she goes, oh, well, are there any online character generation for Second Edition? I said, well, there was one that came on a CD back in the 90s, but that thing it required like Windows 3.1.1 or something to run, and I don't even have the disk, so that's not going to happen. But it made me think about the beauty of pulling out your player's handbook and grabbing those handfuls of dice and rolling your 3 or 4d6 in order, taking out the highest, whatever method you use, flipping through physical pages, you're writing your stuff down. And, first and second edition were actually games where you could actually just take a notebook, piece of paper, and write everything down because you kind of knew what was there. It's not like now where you have all these little weird things that you have to add into it. Second edition sure was a little bit more complicated because besides your stats and your weapons, you had your non-weapon proficiencies, and then kits added weird shit to it. But still, it was something that you could write out on a piece of binder paper and have your character down, where now it's like you really need, like fourth edition was a nightmare. Try to do a fourth edition character on a piece of paper. Forget that. You're gonna need like markers and pens to add colors and all kinds of shit to that. So I'm sorry, I'm on a rant, an old fogey rant. Damn, back in my day, we used to write it on index cards with a crayon.
Oh, you were lucky to have index cards.
We had to tattoo it on our skin. I still have my character right here.
Oh my god. I have experienced both sides of it due to my age and whatever. And it's definitely interesting because I was using the Pathfinder 2nd Edition character generators like Path Builder and the other one that I forget the name of. And I found it super quick, super snappy, but I also felt like I had no connection to my character. Meanwhile, for first edition Pathfinder and Shadowrun, I have a online, or not online, but a digital character sheet, but I still need to do everything myself and insert everything and do the math and all that. And I spent a week working on a Pathfinder character and a month working on a Shadowrun character. And by the end of it, you're really into the character because you've spent so long making them.
Yeah,
And you
it's
don't really have that with like the character builders.
no, I'm gonna agree with you there because I mean I think part of the fun is looking looking through the character, like looking through the book and just making your decisions and reading what each things are instead of like some character generation just go that sounds good and you just throw it on there. Shadowrun, although I think Mike and I cringe every time the word comes up, that's just because the sixth edition was horrible. But
I play
nope,
fourth.
fourth edition, good edition. Third and fourth are my sweet spot for Shadowrun.
I
But
looked at fifth and it's interesting, but I think there's some things I don't like.
yeah, it was a little too narrow. But fourth actually came with a bunch of nice stuff. Yeah, fourth edition was actually really good. But then you have games like Traveler, where Traveler is incredibly fun to create a character. You know, it takes you, you know, it could take you an hour and then you could die and then have to create another character. But that was really neat. Cyberpunk 2020 and Cyberpunk 2013. I think actually Cyberpunk Red has it too. There's the life path where you kind of roll
Yeah,
for each thing as you go along. All right, now I'm 19 years old. Let me see what happened to me. Um,
that was so fun to roll for in Cyberpunk Red.
yeah,
One of the things that I like about Traveler is that you've got so many different flavors of Traveler. You've got the classic Traveler, and then you've got the editions that come back after that, all the way up to including like they used to have what is it, 80-2300 was sort of Traveler, sort of proto Traveler, maybe. I don't remember. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I always get confused in what it was, but I've been looking at a bunch of the Mongoose stuff, and I like their supplements. I like the way they've expanded the universe. I don't know much about their game system for using it, so I don't know about that. But I like the source books.
well, the thing with Mongoose, it's pretty much classic Traveler, just cleaned up, and it's not like what they did with RuneQuest, where when they took RuneQuest for a while, they took it and then just completely nerfed it. But Traveler, they did a really good. They are very faithful to the game because Mark Miller still publishes original Traveler. Like Traveler Fifth Edition came out maybe I think about 5 or 6 years ago, and everyone that spent the hundreds of dollars on the book that's like this thick say that the greatest thing about Traveler 5 is that it will hold up a table or it will basically stop your door from slamming in a windstorm.
I bought the PDF for that when it came up on one of the bag of holdings or something along those, on one of those sites like that. And it's got a lot of stuff in there. I don't know how playable it is, but it's got a lot of stuff in there.
It's just badly organized. I mean, it's got all the core stuff in there, but it's that
They changed the dice mechanics, and I'm not sure I like it.
Oh, really? It's no longer 2d6?
I don't believe so. I believe there's some other things going on. I didn't dig into it deeply enough, but I've heard that there was some dice manipulation as far as things you were rolling. So I don't know. Don't take that at face value, everybody that's listening. That's what I've heard.
Maybe it's kind of like maybe they made it like an indie game where now you have to basically, you know, you need an anthill and 2 pancakes, and then you basically flip 1 pancake in the air, and then depending on how many times it flips before the ants actually crawl in and out of the ant hole, that's like your randomizer, and then the clown that's across the street has to wave, and if the clown doesn't wave, then you fail, but you fail forward. So then the dog that isn't, I don't know. That's how indie games feel to me sometimes. It's just like, it's like, really? I know you want to be different and hip and edgy, but yeah, some mechanics.
Calm down, please.
Yeah.
It's like Star Wars. So all the dice we had to roll. Oh, you get these other dice and these other dice that you get to add. And you're like, what are all these dice?
Oh my
So
God.
many dice.
And the symbols too. It's like, all right, well, there's this explosion, and then there's this thing that kind of looks like Boba Fett's hat, like helmet, and there's this other thing that kind of looks like a sad trumpet. And like, what do they do?
It was fun to play, but if we hadn't had the game creator running it, we would have been completely and utterly lost.
Oh, were you in the game with Jay Little?
I was.
Okay. I lose track now of like all the games. I'm just getting senile. But
how could you forget me?
But before we I just want to say one thing about Wizards. One more thing about Wizards of the Coast.
One more thing.
One more thing.
You should have a segment of this show. You know, a little lead in. Now we talk about Wizards of the Coast. Blah, 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 blah. And then
But they were gonna say lead in like one more thing.
Yeah, what? Hey, that could be the segment. One more thing.
wafer thin mint.
So Wizards of the Coast recently announced, and this made me really sad because I know they're just gonna F it up big time, but they announced that they're doing Planescape again.
Oh yeah.
And they talked about this wonderful box set. And as most people pointed out who actually know what a box set is, that's called a slipcase. It's 3 books inside of an envelope-y thing that slide in and out is called a slipcase. It is not called a box set. However, Wizards of the Coast is calling it a box set. So first of all, D&D was kind of one of the first books to incorporate first games to incorporate box sets. How could they not know what a box set is? Just come on.
Because no one from the old days exists anymore.
So my final comment is, and kind of to touch on what you and Catherine said, JC, is I obviously, if you look over my shoulder, I've been a long time fan of Dungeons and Dragons. The thing that always appealed to me was the role-playing aspect, the idea of having everybody come to a table and the collaborative energy that you get by telling a story together. Wizards seems to be taking that concept and going a completely different direction with it. And unfortunately for me personally, it's a direction that I don't like. It looks like they want to do everything remote. I'm not saying that you can't get that same experience remotely online with other people. I'm just saying that it's different and just not the same kind of game that I would want to play personally. So,
and I think this is where Terry and Terry's a little bit more of an RPG hoarder than I am, but I'm kind of the same.
Oh, that is totally not true. I've heard about your basement of holding.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. That's really awesome. So I may not get to play them a lot, but at least if I didn't want to play D&D, I can play Alien. I can play, I can look back over my shoulder here and find 100 different, Conan, Modiphius's 2D20 Conan, which looks really cool to play. Star Trek Adventures, which no one wants to play with me, but damn it, I keep buying the books. There's just so many great games out there other than, but I think it's just basically during COVID, there was a certain demographic of people who latched onto Wizards of the Coast and D&D because what else are you going to do during COVID other than play online and Roll20 with your friends? But they just it almost became a weird symbiotic relationship where they needed WotC and WotC needed them, and Wizards of the Coast kind of forgot they had other fan bases and left them to the wind and just started publishing for this certain common denominator. And granted, this is also kind of a demographic too who grew up on mobile games, who so it's a younger crowd, and they're going to cater to WotC's whims with everything. I'm not saying that not all young people are into that. I'm going to play something like Raid Legends or something so I can.
Oh man, gotta check my Raid Shadow Legends.
Do you play?
No.
Oh,
I've never touched it.
All right. Although I do play Hero Wars. That's a whole other segment altogether, just because, I don't know, it's fun and I can do it on a browser. So if I'm kind of feeling like I just don't want to do anything, I'll just bring up Hero War and do a bunch of stuff. But
I just play Duolingo on my phone.
I used to be addicted to Candy Crush and stuff like that too, so I guess I shouldn't throw the first stone there. But now going into other companies. So Terry, you're talking about Kobold.
I will, but let me say one last thing about Wizards of the Coast.
I love it.
Because why not just pile on Wizards of the Coast? a lot of companies have found out that going through the pandemic, that they changed their business for how things were going in the pandemic, and then discovered they weren't always going to be that way. And now they're suffering financially because they overextended themselves. Amazon and a whole bunch of other companies are having to cut workforce because they thought that the way things were the way things were always going to be going forward. And they did themselves wrong. And I'm wondering if Wizards did the same thing. They said, oh, everybody's playing online. We're just going to crush everything online, and we're going to take over this. And now people aren't doing that anymore. Just a hypothesis.
Yeah, no, that's
see it.
yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, Tales of the Valiant. That was Cobalt Press's Black Flag, Operation Black Flag. Their Kickstarter is active. And I've looked at it and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Should I support it? Should I not support it?
I gotta see.
I look at it. It's got the player's guide and the monsters. I'm not looking at the table of contents. It doesn't seem to have anything for running the game. So I'm wondering if it's just using the standard DM's guide. I don't know exactly how that's supposed to work. It only just opened a couple of days ago. So I'm still not sure what I'm going to do.
Yeah, like cautionarily curious.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's got 21 days left. They've raised $837,000. So they've crossed off a bunch of their stretch goals, and it looks like it's going forward. I will probably end up supporting it, but it's still on the maybe list because who wants to spend the money on something else?
All right, Tales of the Valiant, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I can't spell, so
That's Valiant with a V.
no, I understand that. I'll just put in Cobalt Press because stuff.
Can I post a? I know I can't post a link here. I can send it to you.
Hold on,
otherwise,
Cobalt Press. There we are. Aha! I just want to bring it up on the screen here and show. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Share my screen. Yes, I understand. Don't show this warning again. Window. Boom. Share. There we are. All right. So there's Tales of the Valiant. Ooh, it's almost near a mill.
yeah, that's what I said. $837,000 raised.
Damn. And when this start? Like a couple days
It's
ago?
it's been out 10 days. It started with 31 days on the clock, and it's now at 21.
So now I'm curious what the funding levels are. Let's see here. So
Their initial goal was 100,000.
pledge
So
without a
they've-
reward. That's usually $1. What the hell's up with this $10 thing?
They just want more money, more money, more money.
All right, so 50 and I remember back when Kickstarters were actually kind of these things where it's like, I'm just going to do the Kickstarter because it's so much cheaper to do the Kickstarter. Now
Not
that's
these
kinda-
days, Betty.
No.
Oh,
So $48 gets you the digital
PDFs.
collection, which comes with Monster Vault, Players Vault, Alpha Release, Kickstarter playtest packets, and previews and updates. $59 just gets you the Player's Guide. Oh, and the Player's Guide PDF. At least it comes with a free PDF. The Monster Vault is $59, so ooh, special limited edition. So how much is it going to cost you to?
ooh.
We're still not even at the buying the core physical book.
No, you're not. You're a little bit. You got to go a little bit more down.
Holy shit!
Keep scrolling, pal.
All right, here we go. Tales of Valiant 2-book set plus PDF, so $100.
$100 to buy the hardbacks and get all the various PDFs.
Now, is there another? Okay,
Wow.
so then it's $65 or $64 more to get the special edition covers. Retail, okay, it's retailer. All gone. Oh, all gone at $699.
The super deluxe
Wow.
set.
Is that the
Yeah.
one where the game designer comes over to your house and runs a session just for you?
Could be. I saw that they had a Foundry VTT
Oh my God,
set up
please.
there, so There's also, if we wanted to, have the rule set on Foundry, we'd have to grab that too.
Yeah, but you only could choose one apparently.
Well, I think it'll probably be in an add-on, but they had a separate one for buying VTTs. So I suspect it'll be available as an add-on to one of the others.
So honestly,
Yeah, it's usually available as an add-on.
Yeah, no, that's another thing how they get you too is add-ons. So I was listening to a podcast today, one that actually I'm kind of really liking. It's called Nerd Cognito, and they were talking about Kickstarters today, and one of them said, talking about this is that back in the day when you had a Kickstarter, you had a goal. Once you reached that amount, you got the goal no matter what. Now it's and the way they described it was like, if we reach $500,000, we're going to make these cool coins to play the game with. But once we reach $5,000, you can get these gold coins added for an additional $25. So it's kind of like even like stretch goals are no longer really stretch goals anymore. They're just more things that you could buy if we reach this amount. So
yeah, I like the ones that just add them.
But there's just no way that I'm gonna spend $100. I'm sorry. I just I like Kobold Press. I'm actually gonna let me log in. Let me just show you the sad, depressing world of my backed projects. Most of these I haven't even picked up yet.
Is it one?
So yes, Kinks and Cantrips. Don't judge. Anyway, Outgunned, which just seems so damn cool. It's like a cinematic action movie role-playing game. So I went on the Die Hard level on that. Walking Dead Universe, Shadow Dark, which looks amazing, and the woman who writes it, Kelsey, is just an amazing person in general. So it's like I had to do it. Subversion, which is someone else's version of Shadowrun. Monty Python, which just looked really damn cool. Who wouldn't want a Monty Python role-playing game?
I remember seeing that, yeah.
And then this is the one I'm really looking forward here. Drakkar Oct Deminar, or Dragon's Bane, which...
It's the ducks.
Yeah, oh yeah, it has a duck PC class in it, or race. I'm so down.
You can be a duck?
Yeah, you can be a duck. Without having to play RuneQuest. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff like I got Blade Runner. I'm waiting for Brindlewood Bay to come in, which is an indie game, but I'm a big fan of like Agatha Christie's Miss Marple, and this is basically the Miss Marple role-playing game. So
cool.
You play like little old ladies trying to like defeat Cthulhu mythos. It's kind of neat. But there's stuff that's I haven't even seen yet, like the new Deadlands campaign that was supposed to be out, Mothership, which keeps giving like reasons why the game isn't out yet, which at this point I don't care.
At least they're still talking.
Yeah. This is the one this is like 2 years ago that I'm waiting for. Same company that did this one, which I just finally got. But and I can go back and back and back. Let's see what some of my earliest Kickstarters were. I'm just curious. I know I'm just wasting time here, but let's see.
Well, you think you're just wasting time because I'm waiting for you to be done so I can go ahead and throw mine up there and
all right.
We can compare
the
length of our
Final Fantasy.
So yeah, we'll get there. I promise. So anyway, so it looks like some of my early Kickstarters here were the Dwarven Forge Caverns.
There's more. You can click show more pages and you would have even
I have more?
Oh my god.
Dang, okay. Labyrinth Lord referee screen 2012. And then Astonishing oh wow, okay. Shadowrun Returns. Oh, this is when Roll20 was just being kickstarted.
Ah.
Yeah, 2012.
I didn't even know Kickstarter existed in 2012.
Yeah, you came to it before I did.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing to give Terry. So go ahead. Let's see your magical list of Kickstarters.
All right. Is it showing it? Is it not showing it? I can't tell.
I have to give it permit.
Oh, sorry. I clicked the wrong button there. I clicked stop sharing because I didn't know what I was doing. Let's try that again. All right.
All right, there we go.
All right. So we got here. I've got lots of writing stuff as well as some stuff. I'm wondering, you're getting at the Walking Dead? You got that one coming out for you?
Yep, I did
All
Walking
right.
Away. It looks like we did at the same level too.
So let's see what else we've got here going on. Extraordinary items, the encyclopedia lore books. These are ones I passed up the last time around because I couldn't afford them at the time. And I said, oh, it's coming back around with another one. I'll just buy the whole thing. Spent way more money than I should have. Kibble's Compendium of Legends and Legacies. That looked real good. What else here? Ultimate Guide to Foraging, Harvesting, and Natural Discovery. And then, of course, there's Paranoia, the perfect edition.
Oh, there's a new version of Paranoia coming out?
Yeah. I've got everything except the core rulebook. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that's already come in. It's not going to be too much more longer. Historica Arcanum, which is Middle Eastern stuff set along D&D 5e stuff set in the Middle East back in time. That looks good. There's your ducks.
Yep.
What else we got here? 5e PF2 monster races and stuff.
$199. Would you actually get a real monster for that?
You figure I would, but I didn't. Got Blade Runner. You know, we can always play Blade Runner when these all come in.
Yeah, Blade Runner should already be. I already got my Blade Runner. It's been on my shelf for some months.
I've got a check mark. It's here somewhere. I've got it.
Okay.
Forgotten Ruin is somebody did a 5e version of the role-playing game for a series of novels where Army Rangers were transported into the far future where they're having to fight orcs and other horrible, nasty things with ranger tactics. So that's an interesting storyline. Well, as you can see, I've got lots of things that I have supported. How far back did I go here? Where am I at? 2013. So I didn't come in estimated delivery 2013. And then December of 2012. I'm almost in the same range as you.
Here's the sad thing, though. If we totaled up all of our Kickstarters and put a monetary value to it, we could probably make multiple mortgage payments. Like we probably pay mortgage for like 6 months based on the money spent on Kickstarters. But anyway, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and leave the wonderful world of bitching about RPGs and switch over to probably not bitching about video games. So, Catherine, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about Final Fantasy.
All right. So I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 11. That's one that doesn't get a lot of love because it is the original Final Fantasy MMO. 14 isn't a sequel to it or anything, but it's kind of like a spiritual successor. And there is a lot of things that you can see in 11 that are in 14, but not so much the other way around. Because it's a very unique MMO. A lot of MMOs are about, like, you know, your rotations and going on a very linear quest nowadays. And I didn't know there was a story in Final Fantasy XI until I was 20 hours in. Because it is not one that gets shoved in your face and you can kind of just go wherever you want to go. And it's a game that really felt like I was on an adventure. And you really have to, like, be ready to invest your time, your effort, and your brain into it because it asks so much of you. And you don't see that a lot nowadays. I had a dungeon where I had one in-game day to complete it because when the day ends, it has like a password system that you have to go through the dungeon and collect all these different passwords. And when the day rolls around, the passwords reset and change. And so you have like one in-game day, which is about A little less than 2 hours. And so you have like, almost 2 hours to complete the dungeon. And then if you die at any point, you have to start at the beginning of the dungeon and make your way back up. And it was quite a task. And instead of like fighting monsters and stuff and like fighting hordes of enemies like you usually do in MMOs, I was using like stealth. Like you have spells like invisibility and sneak and deodorize, which will like hide you from your enemies. And it made for an experience that I've never had in an MMO before. And I think one of the other most unique aspects of the game is the fact that there are very few instanced areas in the game. Like there are some, they're usually boss battles, but like dungeons themselves aren't instanced or anything. And you can go into a dungeon and just see another player working on a different part of that dungeon, since there are multiple quests inside of dungeons, and dungeons aren't linear. They're like these actual fortresses that are just like filled with enemies and objectives and things that you can access now, but some that you can't. And you have to go back later and do those. And it'll lead to a very different part of the dungeon that you've never seen before, or maybe you've seen kind of in the distance but never actually got to. And it's a very unique experience that I haven't had in a video game since like Morrowind or Oblivion.
Oh, wow. So is it multi? Is it well? You said it's an MMO, so basically other people can make characters and join in, right?
Oh yeah, them walking around.
All right.
You can even set up your own shop.
Now, is it because my only experience with MMOs is pretty much World of Warcraft and some EverQuest, but mostly World of Warcraft. So I know the World of Warcraft experience is that you pay your subscription, you create a toon, which is basically a character like everyone else has. You just name it differently, and you just you tromp around wherever your starting area is to grind and kill things and do quests. So is that kind of a similar experience with Final Fantasy 11, or is it different?
Yeah, I'd say it's different, but it's executed. Or no, I'd say it's the same, but it's executed differently. So like in World of Warcraft, even in like the old days, characters had like little exclamation points above their heads if they had a quest, so you know who's important and who isn't. And Final Fantasy 11 doesn't do that at all. There's like no signifier for if there's somebody as a quest. You just have to talk to people, and some people might have like a vague like quest idea for you, like, hey, I need you to get this thing from this character. I think their name is this. They're this race, and they are somewhere in the world. Go. And it's like, okay.
Now, these
And there's no
NPCs,
markers anywhere. Pardon?
these are these NPCs or these other players?
Oh, these are NPCs.
Okay, that's interesting though. Like, there's just like honestly, for me, I need to have that giant explanation point over someone's head, or else I'm just kind of like I have no idea what I'm doing.
I always have a wiki open when I'm playing because it's like I'd get so lost if I didn't. It took me like several hours with a guide to get through a quest.
Is it subscription based, or is it just...
Yeah, it's actually a very cheap subscription. It's I think like a base of $10, and then you pay $2 per additional character slot.
Okay, monthly or...
Yeah, monthly.
Okay, that's still good. Still, I mean, it's not as pricey as WoW, which I guess I shouldn't bitch too much, because World of Warcraft is still the same price now as it was when I started playing it like 10 plus years ago. It was always like 14 bucks, I think.
And the game is like Final Fantasy 14 in that you can swap between jobs. But unlike Final Fantasy 14, you start with access to like 6 jobs, and then later on down the line, you can get access to subclasses, which don't level up when you step into a subclass. But if you have them, like, let's say you have a level 50 white mage and you start as a level 1 black mage and you choose to have white mage as a sub job. White mage will also be set to level 1, but as you level, white mage will also level up, but it'll always be about half your level.
So
And it's a very, yeah.
no, actually, I'm just trying. Can you kind of repeat that? Like, I'm trying to picture what you're saying. I'm just not. Maybe my brain is
So
jelly.
let's say you start out as a white mage and you're level
Okay.
1.
All right.
And you level up and you get to level 18 or something, and then you get the quest that gives you access to a sub job.
Okay.
And so you change your main job to black mage, which is now level 1, and you change your sub job to white mage, which is also now level 1. But as you level up black mage, white mage levels up too, but it's always half your level until you hit the point where white mage hits 18, and then you need to go back and level up white mage in order for it to catch up.
So it almost sounds like dual class from like original D&D, where basically so in dual class and in the role-playing game, what you had to do. So let's just say a bard is a perfect example, because in first edition, bards were nightmares to play. You'd probably become a bard after playing the game for like 15 years, because
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, because you had to play a fighter up till like 8th or 9th level. Then you had to come back and start up a thief, I think it was, and play that to like a ridiculously high level. And then you had to come back again and play druid until you got to a certain level, and then you could become a bard. But the thing is with dual classing was that so basically I'm a 9th level fighter. I'm going now to play a thief. I'm playing a first level thief, except now I know I don't have any of my fighter abilities until I reach the same level in thief as I was fighter. So now I can utilize both classes. But now I'm
it's a lot like that.
Okay, and then I'm going back to become a druid. So now I forget how to be a thief and a fighter and have to become a druid until I beat that level. And now I remember everything and I'm officially a bard. Yeah, the logic behind that makes no freaking sense whatsoever.
It's luckily not that complicated, but yeah, there is like job hopping and like level variances and stuff like that. One thing I also find interesting is that you have job abilities, which are like, what your class is, like various abilities that are unique to your class. Then you have job traits, which are not necessarily unique to your class. Like each class kind of shares a assortment of traits, and then once in a while has their own unique stuff. And then there's spells and stuff. And unlike job traits and job abilities, spells you actually need to go out and find or buy. So you don't gain them like automatically. And because the game's slower pace, you also can't like do a rotation or anything like that. You always need to like kind of play in the moment.
So do these squeeze you for more money when you want to change jobs?
Nope. It's all free. The only thing you have to do to unlock the later jobs is usually a complicated quest.
Okay, because I know, if I remember correctly, and Mike, keep me honest here, with World of Warcraft, if you wanted to change your class, you actually had to like spend $25 and then they actually let you change your class. The same thing with like race change or alliance change. And then obviously if you're a what are the cow people called again?
Tauren.
A Tauren.
Yeah. So if you're a Tauren, you couldn't join the alliance, which kind of sucked. It's like, well, that's a horde race. So you can't, So I know they lightened some of that ruling up because now they don't really have the horde alliance divide is kind of lame and wimpy at this point because they changed it. But back in the day, it was like I mean, there was huge division amongst players. It's like I used to get like picked on because I had both an alliance and a horde character, and people are just like, "What do you mean you have both? You can't have both. That you can't play. You can't be horde and be alliance too. What are you, some sort of wimp? So yeah, there's a lot of things like that. So um, anyone? I'm so Terry. Have you played any MMORPGs at all?
I am
Or
of the age group that video games never caught a hold of me, so I'm not a good one there.
Ah, fair.
really, like I think we're close to the same age, and like
When
I
I
don't
was in
know.
well, how old are you, JC?
I will say 25. No, I am 55.
I am about almost 4 years older than you. So when
But
I was going through high school, it was the Apple Plus stuff that was going on in high school, and you just didn't have personal computers, and the video games were playing Space Invaders.
yeah,
That's what I played as a kid, Space Invaders and the like.
yeah.
So
I
none of
mean,
the more recent stuff ever captured me.
I played Pong. I had one of those. My cousin had one of those. I was about to say Motorola. It wasn't Motorola. It's Magnavox. Had this like
Mm-hmm.
box that you hooked to your TV. It had two little
Yep,
twisty
I had
things
one.
on it. Okay. So I don't know. Like I just got addicted to video games during the Pong era, and every new shiny video. Like I remember when Tempest came out, I practically lost my mind. When I saw Mortal Kombat for the first time, I was like, "Oh my god, that is the most advanced game ever. We're living so far in the future, and now that's like nothing
Well,
compared
I
to."
know why I missed it. It's because video games weren't very advanced when I was in high school, and from high school I went straight into the military, and RPGs caught me.
Okay, fair
So
enough.
that was
Fair
it.
enough. Mike, I know you play World of Warcraft, but any other MMORPGs? MMO?
Let's see. I played Ultima Online way back when.
Oh wow, okay, that's
Um,
old school.
let's see what else. I played EverQuest for a very long time. Um, and then of course World of Warcraft. I just actually reactivated my account, and I've been kind of dabbling with it. I've been playing around with it a little bit,
Oh yeah.
mostly just because I've got some friends who are playing, and so. But yeah, no, those are really the three main games I played. I mean, I played EverQuest 2 when that came out. Um, I played. There was a Star Wars game that came out. I
Oh
forget.
yeah, it didn't last very
Yeah.
long.
No, I played it for about the first year, and then I lost interest in it. So
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
I think so. I think that was it. If it came out
That's
like
still
in
going.
the game I'm
Oh.
thinking of was like early to mid 2000s, like 2006 or 7, somewhere in there.
Hold on.
Okay. Don't know if that was that one. I can't remember.
I gotta check it now because I know there was one that didn't. Oh, it's Star Wars Galaxies.
That was it.
Oh,
Star
okay,
Wars
yeah.
Galaxies. Yep.
Yeah, that didn't live very long.
Nope.
2005 is kind of when it died out. So yeah, 2003, 2005, Star Wars Galaxies. Yeah, poor Star Wars Galaxies. But like going into Final Fantasy, I don't know if I should be embarrassed to say the only Final Fantasy I ever played was Final Fantasy 2. When
Wow.
they were like the little pixelated chibi things, and they had, that was the only Final Fantasy. Because then when I saw something like Final Fantasy 14, I'm like, wow, it got really advanced compared to when I last played Final Fantasy. So it's and just quickly, and we'll kind of wrap it up here. So Terry? I won't ask you because you don't play video games. So Catherine, besides Final Fantasy 11, are you playing anything else video game wise?
I was playing the Dot Hack video games before then.
Okay.
I was at Dot Hack GU, which is also like set in an MMO, but it's actually a single player game, and it's definitely very interesting comparing the two and like other MMOs in anime specifically, because normally when I saw those, I was like, well, this is nothing like an MMO experience, as my experience has been RuneScape, World of Warcraft, and Final Fantasy XIV before really delving into 11. But now that I've played 11, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is the game they were emulating, because there's so many similarities. Like, you really go on an adventure with your friends in 11.
Okay. And Mike, besides going back to World of Warcraft, are you playing anything?
No. Unfortunately, I just don't seem to have a lot of time for video games, so I don't. I play Minecraft occasionally. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts.
Okay, I play Minecraft. There's a lot of games that I've always wanted to play. I just never have had the time to sit down and play them. So
Yeah.
I've always stuck to role-playing games.
Yeah, so I've had various addictions for a while. Like Overwatch was it was my heroin. Like I just could not stop playing Overwatch. Just every minute of the day, it's like, oh, I got an extra 15 minutes. I'm gonna play some Overwatch. I'm gonna go in a match. And then it just when Overwatch 2 came out, I just kind of lost interest and moved on. Hitman games have always been like I love just the fact that you can shoot people, throw their bodies into like dumpsters, and then just walk
Oh,
away
yeah.
was really cool. Actually, what was really frightening is that there was a time when I was playing it so much that I went to a festival and I saw a bunch of those dumpsters, and my mind didn't go to garbage. It went to, all right, if I take someone out, I have to be able to drag the body back here and throw it in and then walk. So anyway, um, but lately I've been really into Borderlands. So Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 3, which is an amazing game. I'm actually going through it twice now because I've been so addicted to it. So it's become my new Overwatch. But Borderlands has been kind of my jam lately. I'm actually going to circle back to play Borderlands 2, and then there's a bunch of other things like Tiny Tina's Adventure, where it's basically the Borderlands characters, but they're all playing a D&D game. So it's this weird kind of Inception sort of thing where you're playing the characters from the game who are playing other characters in a D&D game. It's kind of really bizarre, but it's been a lot of fun. But I will go ahead and leave that there. I think we've been talking a bit, and so next week Pat will be back with us, and if he continues the movie he was supposed to be reviewing, he will be reviewing the Muppet Mayhem TV series, which I saw the trailer today, and I was like, this is brilliant, and I have to watch it. Or maybe some other weird Italian film that he finds that will lead us down the path of depravity. But honestly, like I said, I know a lot of people watch this after the fact, so let us know. We actually have I'll go through my spiel here, but you can reach us at hate-mail at grindhouse.media, which if you want to leave us an email on various things. I know I have bumpers here for other stuff, which there we go. You're watching us here on YouTube and Twitch. So on Twitch, you can see us over at twitchtv.grindhousemedia, or you can go over to YouTube at Show Us Your Crits. If you like what we're doing, or just feel one day that you woke up and have some extra money in your pocket and want to fund us, there's things that we could buy for the show. Definitely, you can join our Patreon. And if people start giving money to it, I promise I will actually start posting on it too. So it's just like a double deal there. Otherwise, other ways to throw money at us, you can buy us a cup of coffee at coffee.com/grindhouse media. Or if you want to wear our interesting gear, you can go ahead to thegrindhouse.creator-spring.com, and you can find our wonderful logos and other sorted stuff on t-shirts and masks, which is anyone even buying masks anymore? Or
They're still kind of used in Canada.
oh, okay, okay. I know here people have pretty much said we don't have to wear masks anymore, and just went crazy with
Here it's
it.
like a 50-50.
Yeah, because even hospitals now are no longer like forcing people to wear masks. They're just like, well, if you want to put one on, you can, and we have some by the door if you want to take one, but we're not twisting anybody's arm.
We just stopped the mandate for hospitals to do that, like recently.
Yeah, actually here too. It's only been a couple of months, so it's definitely been interesting. But other than that, we are off. We'll be back next week we'll finish Gygax Challenge. I mean, honestly, that has been the monkey on most of our
Yeah. Sure.
I completely forgot about that this week.
Yeah, I did too. Honestly, I almost feel like going on ChatGPT and saying, "Here's a parameter for the fifth week of the Gygax 75 challenge. Just create it for me, and I will be your best friend, oh computer AI." But we will see. All right.
Refine it by making sure that ChatGPT knows that you are Wizards of the Coast's towel boy.
Hey now. Them fighting words. So remember, you still have a couple more sessions of my game there, Mr. Man. There's definitely a lot of spears that like to puncture lungs floating around.
It's true.
So. All right, and actually, I'll see both of you tomorrow night for the ending that story arc in Pathfinder. So anyway, I'm going to hit the end stream here, and we'll all see you next week. Adios, everybody.